Welcome to ChuiMathGuide.com. My name is Jesus Urtiaga and we're going to take a look at piecewise defined function, starting with a basic and simple problem with a 3 piecewise function. But first, we have to worry about the steps we have to follow in order to solve the problem. The first step will be to evaluate and review the equation. Second step is to identify the problem and find which are the equations that we have to use. Third step is to solve the equation. Step number 4 is from the results of those equations, obtain the coordinates. So we can graph them out. And the last step is number 5, is to define the domain and the range. So let's start with the procedure that we are going to follow to solve this piecewise function. So we have that f of x is equal to minus 1 if x is less than minus 1. Then in the second function we have that y is 1 if minus 1 is equal to x minus or equal to 1. And the third section is f of x is equal to minus 1 if x is greater than 1. In this exercise we can see that we have 3 piecewise functions. In the first function we have that x is less than minus 1, so this means that all the values in y are going to be minus 1. In the second function, we have like a double function or a perfectly well-defined piece of the graph between two limits. This will be minus 1 equal to x, and at the same time x is less or equal to 1. So this function means that any value from x that is less than 1 or 1 will be equal to 1 in y. In the third piece, we have that when x is greater to 1, so all the values in y will be minus 1. So now, with this information, we can coordinate reference points in our graph. The result of the first function is parentheses minus 1 comma minus 1, and then we close the parentheses. The second function, when x value is minus 1, y value will be 1. And when x equals 1, y value will be also 1. And for the third function, when the value of x is 1 or greater than 1, y value will be minus 1. So now that we have our 4 points of reference, we can start to graph these results. So we have minus 1, comma, minus 1. It will be here. Then we have minus 1, comma 1. We also have 1, comma 1. And the last coordinate is 1, comma, minus 1. And then we can identify our asymptotes. In the second equation, we have that less than 1 with equality, that this means that this part of the line will be a solid line with a solid circle. So this and also indicates that we are going to consider the end of the lines when we mark or draw our limits. Then, in the first and third equation, we have less than and greater than without equality. This means that we are going to have a forever constant line for negative and the positive side. So, and for left and right. But because we don't have equality, this means that the point will be drawn with an open circle and that we are not going to consider the values that are less than 1 or 1. This gives us the reference for the asymptotes. Just where the point in the graph is not longer defined is where the asymptotes are. So they will be right here. To define the domain and the range, we have to remember that the domain are the x values and the range are the y values that we use in the graph. So in this problem, the domain is minus infinity to plus infinity. And the range is minus 1, comma, to 1. So we include the 1 because it has a square bracket. The square bracket are these ones. Because we have to remember that we did include and use in the graph the values on y. You measure the range upside down and the domain from left to right. So I hope this explanation was helpful for you to solve future piecewise function. Thank you for visiting chuimathguide.com.